Hey! All right, guys, this is definitely a milestone for me. I am filling my own water supply that I'll use while I'm off grid at my off grid cabin with water from my solar powered well. So this is Self Reliant. Well, we're here. This is my property, the lower lot. So I actually have two different lots out here. The lower lot is where the bio house and the well house are. God, it's so beautiful out here. If you guys are ever looking for a place to stay or camp out in Washington, not this time of year, but in the spring and summer and early fall, I rent it out so you guys can come out here. Check all this out, man. This place is so gorgeous. Now that is my outhouse. It has both solar power and wind power. I don't know if the wind is all that helpful or not, but the idea was when we have super dark, super stormy days, like were last year, obviously, when the trees are coming down, that might be the source that will cause it to, charge when it's dark and not getting a lot of sunlight. That's also my camera that I use to try to check on the conditions so I can see how much snow falls here. I was wondering if that panel was covered with snow because that battery keeps dying and I keep losing access to it at home. It uses a SIM card so I can log in and check it. It doesn't record or anything like that. But I'm thinking that I might, instead of using that tiny little solar panel, is wire that to my bigger battery bank. In another video, I built this little battery installation box because this whole thing is just open air. That's going to be an outdoor shower, by the way. That's the hose for the well itself. And this thing is going to, or has heat pads and the two batteries in it. And I did an insulation box along with the heat pads so that the batteries don't freeze, because I realized after I built this and did a little extra research that batteries freezing is not great. And that was my solution. And I hope it helps keep a long life. A bit overkill for this. This inverter is a little bit overkill. The other thing that I learned after I had all this stuff installed, and by the way, it looks like the batteries are 100% full, which makes total sense because there's no draw on them. Other thing I learned after I had all this installed by a professional pump guy is that they make DC pumps. And I wish he would have told me that when I had him install these, because an inverter is expensive. It also is a component that will fail, and it'll probably be the first component to fail. And so I really could have just had batteries and a pump with a charge controller and the panels, which would have been a simpler, more reliable, cheaper system. So now I know that. So in the future, that's what we'll do. But the one benefit of having this inverter, which by the way, let's fire it up, is now we have AC power down here in 3,000 watts, which is certainly respectable. And so this campsite rental down here, I'm going to have one just campsite, one camper, which is over there in the distance, that I'm going to kind of do a little landscaping around and make a more formal site. And then over there, we're going to do a separate campsite where everybody will have access to the well for water. Everybody will have access to the outhouse for the obvious. And then, a private place where people bring their own gear, set up camp here that's super accessible. The camper that's available for rental, where you could set up, if you have a vehicle that you sleep in or a tent, and then, someone use the camper as well. And then a second private spot there. So all three campsites will be relatively private and have access to water and toilet. And then in a pinch, I could run. Well, most people that come out here have their own power and their own solutions to this stuff, but they could use this as a way to charge phones and other things. I personally can use it for like power tools. Again, 3,000 watts is pretty good. So it's a little bit overkill for what we're doing here, but I wanted to make sure that I always had water, that the pump had plenty. And, the only thing I'm not sure about is if there's downsides or problems with running the well in these winter months. Now, it's not terribly cold up here right now. I don't know what it is, but I don't even feel like it's probably like barely 30 degrees. But I'm planning to fill my canteen with this water. That's probably the next thing I'll do right now. That water smells like rotten eggs, which, what is that? That's not methane. You guys, it's not, remind me what that is. You know what I'm talking about. And the other thing I'm going to do early on this next year is test that water because I'm not sure if it's drinkable as is. The canteen that I have has a filter built into it, and it's supposed to filter pretty much anything and everything. So I'm just going to fill this with that water, and then I feel comfortable running it through that filter and drinking it that way. But I will run some tests, and I'll make sure that I put the proper signage, because as of now, I'm assuming it is not potable water. And then the other thing about this design for the well house is I built it like this mainly to make sure I had access, because if the snow is, 3 feet taller like it was last year, then even if it's 3 feet taller right here, in theory, I can still walk right in, even if it's just 3 feet higher there. And basically, this was a shelter to have access to the pump, to protect the pump, to house the solar, to also act as an outdoor shower. That's a little rock floor where the water will just run down and drain out of it. And I thought, I just like river rock shower type theme stuff. So that's the idea there. So now we'll get that canteen, we'll fill it up, let that snowmobile cool down a bit. I kind of wanted to check out the camper, but it looks like it's doing okay. If we had 3 or 4 more feet of snow, I was worried that my little temporary roof might fail and it might cause some damage, but right now I think we're fine. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of this winter. For the health of the region, I hope they get more snow. I'm sure we will. I wonder if it's one of those years where just the snow and everything's just delayed. I don't know. All right, let's go fill the water canteen. Oh, Jesus. All right, I hope it's okay to run the well in the winter when it's cold ground, but we'll see. It's frozen. Oh, hold on. The pump was off. All right, guys, this is definitely a milestone for me. I am filling my own water supply that I'll use while I'm off-grid at my off-grid cabin with water from my solar-powered well. So this is Self Reliant. This is me. I built the structure. I put up the solar. I paid somebody to drill the well. I own this land. I own this water, if you can own land and water, but obviously this day and age, we look at it that way. Now, the one thing I do want to do, because right now there's probably water in here, it'd be really stupid to leave it there. It could freeze and crack. So I'm going to turn off my power supply. I'm going to open this guy up and let it, oh, this is probably not smart, and let it drain out. Leave it open so that all the water can go back down, and we should be good to go. All right. So we got our water. I drained the well, the head. There shouldn't be anything anywhere near the surface, so let's go load up. You guys coming with me? Let's head to the cabin. My mission is self-reliance through sustainable living, and we're here to build a community. Click here to subscribe to be sure to get more awesome content for living off the land. And be sure to go in to enter for notifications. Click that bell, get notifications, and stay in tune. Subscribe, watch, and comment. Let's build a community. See you soon.